Okay, I think we can start now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Um, Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last parallel session in this IRSA. Like I mentioned before, it's like a triple deal, yeah, because the first one is the last session, and the second one, yeah, the topic is really hard to be honest. One will present about the ESG model, and it's also include disaster. So I know it will be very complicated. And the second one is about meta analysis. And the third one is because we just finished from lunch. So maybe some of you will be a little bit sleepy. Yeah. So it will be a very challenging moment for the presenter. I hope you can control volume. Yeah. So actually we have four presenters this afternoon, but unfortunately we have only two presenters. So in that case, we have a relatively flexible time. Based on the agenda, we have about 2 hours. But since we have only two presenters, maybe you can spend up to each of you 45 minutes, yeah? Because normally each presenter present about 30 minutes. Yeah. So I think I would not. Sorry. Okay, I think we can start from the first presenter. I would like to invite Mas Andreas Chalu. Can I call you Mas Andreas? Or
Yeah, Andreas.
Andreas, to present his interesting research. Yeah, the title is one moment. Regional economic linkages and the macroeconomic effects of large natural disaster, a perfect foresight ESG model. And I see here we have Mas Fahmi, who also focus on the quantitative, and also Mas Ali, yeah, from the Central Bank of Indonesia. And I hope that you can give a lot of feedback to our presenter here. So, Mas Andreas, the time is yours.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. My name is Andreas Shalom Kurniawan. I'm a master student in economics department of University of Gajah Mada. And this afternoon, I will present you a research that is part of my final thesis work about disaster economics, entitled particularly regional economic linkage and the macroeconomic effects of large natural disasters. And I will characterize this research with a perfect foresight ESG model. Next. The research background of this thesis is, as you know, Indonesia is one of the country that have a lot of natural disasters. You can see that you can say that every year we have at least one major disasters in our country. Therefore, for the policymaker, let's say the Ministry of Finance or the other ministries, we want to know how much is the effect of this natural disaster given this level of damage. The second, we have seen that once large natural disasters happen, like the one that happened in Aceh, the cost of the cost of recovery will be very heavy, and it will take a lot of resources. You can say that even from the central government and from the local government to recover the damage that happened. And the third is there is a spillover, even though the spillover is not too much, but we always recognize when an area is affected by natural disasters, the area surrounding the disaster place will also be affected. Next, please. So there will be a lot of question that is interesting to be answered in economic disasters, but actually here I just want to see two aspects. The first is how much will the the economy will be impacted based on three macroeconomics variable. The first is consumption, the second is output, and the third is welfare. And the second, I will also want to know how the heterogeneity of the household will impact each of the household type. Why? Why do I approach this thesis with the SGE model? You can say that you can always use like econometrics models or input-output or even like the CGE model to this kind of particular question. But given that the econometrics approach, we don't have a lot of data about a large natural disasters. Well, we have a lot of disasters, but for the large natural disasters, it's quite not so much. And also, if you know about Lucas' critique, that he said that econometrics model tend to say that agent is not like a rational agent. They won't react strategically. Therefore, I also want to see the dynamic aspect of this model to understand the recovery period. Therefore, I choose the DSG model in this thesis. I also include the IRIO results into this model because I make this model interact between the disaster area and the non-disaster area. Therefore, we can also add the usage of the IRIO result to the DSGO model to make it more robust. The third contribution is we can also understand how the household, for each type of household will affect this economy. And of course, this will you can use this as a policy. You can use this for like if you work in government, you can understand how much the aid that you have to disburse for the government expenditure to help the economy to recover. Okay, we move to the model. The model is quite complicated and delicate. So because there is a lot like 50 equation for all the model. Therefore, it's not interesting if I present all the mathematical equation here. Let me present you just by word. That in the model there will be only one single national price. So I divide the economy become two. The first one is the economy of the disaster region, and the second is the economy with non-disaster region. But the price in those two area is only one price. There will be always there also government and fiscal financing. Even though this is not a focus on this thesis, I add this feature just to make the model become more real because there is no place in the world that recover by itself. There's every country in this world, once their country hit by the disaster, the government will always help the economy to repair. So that's why I include the government here. The disaster timing. So the shock in this model is come from the disaster, and the disaster timing is at the quarter 5. So imagine that you have a timeline in which fourth first quarter is a steady state. So the first year is in a steady state, and once you move to the 5th quarter, there is a disaster that shocked the economy. you may ask me that what do you mean by large natural disaster, and how do you differentiate with the regular natural disaster? I make a definition that we can define that large natural disaster is a disaster where a minimum of 25% of its capital in the economy is destroyed. So that's the borderline where you can say a natural disaster is large or not large. And the shock is only one time. Okay, the shock is only one time. We call it as an MIT shock. That's the phrases that they use in the literature to call this kind of shock. Okay, and there will be two capital in this economy. The first is public capital, and the second is private capital. Why I have to divide this capital become two types? Because the recovery mechanism will be different. The private capital will be recovered by the household, but the public capital will be recovered by the government. And the most important thing that I think in the model is that we have linkage between those two economies. Okay, this is the representation of the economy. This is the single economy. Okay, so you have household, you have firm, and you have government and monetary institution. But here, the monetary institution, I can say that this is disabled. Yeah, I mean not disabled, but they don't have any particular role. They just make interest rate, and the interest rate is like a constant, so they will not be very important in this model. But the fiscal block will be a little bit important because they have recovery mechanism. Okay, so I will copy this kind of economy to the non-disaster region, as you can see here. So, okay, this is like a complex, but it's just a copy of the left-hand side, and the left-hand side the same, but there is a disaster region and non-disaster region. The one that make these two economy link is the final good and intermediate goods trade between these two regions. And the percentage of the final good and intermediate good trade is taken from the IRSA 2016 data. Sorry. Okay, because there's a lot of equation in the model, I won't show you all, but I will show you like the most important or the general things that always happen in the SG model. In the first equation is the utility function that always happen in every SG model. In here, you can see the CRRA utility function, and then how to make the household become heterogeneous. I made them. I split them become a Ricardian household and hand-to-mouth household. The Ricardian household is a household that can borrow, and they can also save because they have capital. Okay, if the other household is the hand-to-mouth household. That one is the household that they don't have any capital, so they work in the morning. They earn their wages, and they will use the wages for their consumption throughout the day. So there's no saving, there's no capital, and just the wage that they earn each day. and it's endogenous. So the share of each household will be will be will follow the level of the recovery. So whenever the economy recover to the steady state, the number of household that is hand to mouth will converge to recurrent as their welfare recover. The capital dynamics, you can see that there is two capital, the private capital and the public capital. Both of the capital will be recovered. The private will be recovered by the household investment. Meanwhile, the government side will be recovered by the government expenditure, and they will be merged. They will be merged with chess function. You can see the last equation in the model. Okay, about the linkage, because you may ask, how do you make the linkage between the economy? So this is the region D. Basically, is a disaster region, and D is non-disaster region. So we characterize how much is the trading, how much the trade between these two economy by looking to the period table. And this is an example for Aceh. So I take the Aceh province as a region of disaster, and all of Indonesia as its trading partner become the region of non-disaster. Okay, so you can see how much Aceh will trade with all of Indonesia, and how much all of Indonesia will trade to Aceh itself, both for intermediate and final good. Okay, so this is the model that I built. I built 5 models from the baseline to the most complex model. There will be, you see there's two sides. The first side is to answer the first research question about how much is the impact for the economy. And the second is to see how much is the impact for each household type. Okay, so M1, M2, and M1 and M2 is one economy. Okay, M1 and M2 just one economy. In M2, M3, we have two economy, two region. M4 and M5 will also two region, but in M4 and M5, the household will be different. The household will take two time. So let's see what the model brings to us. This is, well, we cannot say that this is an impulse response function, but it is, but you can think this is like an impulse response function. Because this is a perfect qualified DSG model, it means that the agent will understand all the path of the economy once the shock happen. So there's no uncertainty. After the shock, there's no other shock, and they know the rule of the economy. So they know about the government will help the recovery. They also know how the household will allocate their consumption and investment decision. Okay, so this is the first model. You can see that. So if you want to think this is like one Indonesia will hit by the disasters. 30% of the capital in Indonesia is destroyed by the disaster, and here is the effect. So the effect is, you can see the output will be impacted like 16%. So the output, the national output will decrease by 16% from the steady state, and the consumption will be decreased about 12%. This is the result that we can see in first model. But bear in mind that this is one economy. Okay, we haven't talked about disaster or non-disaster region yet. This is one region that hit by the disaster. Okay, I may move to the second model. We can go deep in the question and answer session. In the model 2, you can see in the model 2, this is the first time when I divide the capital become 2. There is for private capital and the public capital, and both of the capital is hit by the disaster, and there's also government intervention. So in this very model, there is a government. In model 1, there's no government, but we can also see that even without government, the economy will recover. Okay, so in model 1, we can see that the government intervention is not such a important thing because they can always recover. But when government come to the economy, the recovery period, you can see in the first model, we need like 8 years to recover. But in the second model, we only need 4 years to recover. Okay, and the output also better. You can see that in the first model, we are hit by the disaster and the impact is 16%, but here we only hit by like 14%, and consumption is also better. Okay, so the intervention of government in this model will make the recovery faster, and the impact will be not very severe like the first model. So the third model. This is the first model when we can see where the region have place. Please mention me about the time in this model, you can see that I have divided the region. There's a disaster region, there's non-disaster region. Bear in mind that in the last model, we are hit by the same disaster about 14%. Okay, about 14%. But here you can see that when we separate the region, the disaster region is not 14%, but 21%. So when you zoom to the regional level, the effect of the disaster is much worse. You can go like more likely like a fourth of the GDP is hit by the disaster. But the non-disaster region, you can see that the non-disaster region, because they don't hit by the disaster, they only impact like 0.03%. But if you see the national level is only hit by 0.04. What is the lesson here? If you see the disaster from the national level, a disaster will not have a big impact. But when you see that, when you see in the regional level, the impact is very worse. It's much worse. Okay. How about I talk about the regional linkage. What is the lesson about the regional linkage here? You can see that the non-disaster region only impacted by 0.03%. So why is that? Why is not like maybe 5% or 4%? You can see that the Indonesian province trade with the other province in Indonesia, it's not so much. I mean that there's no one province in Indonesia that have a major contribution to the national economy. Like let's say Jakarta maybe have like 17 or maybe 20 for the highest contribution to the national economy. So there's no one region in Indonesia that occupy the national GDP. That's why we got here 0.03. Okay, next to the fourth model. The fourth model, we will talk about the effect to each type of household. You can see that in the previous model, the consumption is impacted only 11% because we only have one household, so that number will be used for all the household. But once we make a differentiation for these two type of household, we can see that the poor household, the HTM household will impact it the most. It's like 24%. Their consumption is decreased by 24%. But the saving household, the household that have capital and saving, will impact it like 7%. So you can see that when you see the economy is impacted by natural disaster, the effect for the wealth family will very different with the poor family. And it has been proved by this model, and it has been confirmed. But here you can see that in the disaster region, I haven't mentioned about Ricardian household. You can remember from my first present the talk that I have been told to you in the beginning of the presentation. The Ricardian household is a household that can borrow, but here I do not let the household to borrow. They just can save, but they cannot borrow. Okay. In the last model, I let the household, the Ricardian household, become a household that can borrow. You can see, and the impact once we allow the household, the Ricardian household, to borrow is minus 3%. So once you let the household to use their capital to be a collateral after a disaster, the disaster will impact the household less. Okay, so you can see that this is minus 7% without collateral, so they cannot borrow, minus 7%, and after they can borrow, the impact is only minus 3%. But still, the effect for the poor family, the HTM household, is still like the previous model. There's no much movement in this household. Okay, so that's all the model that I built. We come to the conclusion. The conclusion is the disaster devastate the region, but if you see it to the national level, you cannot see the impact is it's not huge in the national level. But if you go and zoom to the regional level, they impact so much, like minus 21%. the trade spillover is small. It's not because the model do not facilitate to make a bigger spillover, but it is because the structure of Indonesian economy, where the province contribute only little to the whole economy of Indonesia. And for the second research question about household heterogeneity, we can see that the poor family will affect it the most. Okay, but the Precarian family, the family that have capital, they will be less impacted. And once they can make a loan to the bank, the effect is very much different. You can see that from -7% to -3%. So what is the last slide? So the last slide is about the limitation and recommendation. The limitation of this research is you can see that the price is the same for the disaster and non-disaster region. This is sometimes it's not realistic because after a disaster, sometimes the inflation comes to the disaster region. But here we only have one national price. Therefore, the inflation of the disaster region is not clear in this model. And the second is the perfect market. So in this model, I use a perfect market, but it's not it's not something that real. The economy is not perfect competitive market. So in the next research, maybe we can make the market become monopolistic or oligopolistic market here. And the recommendation, I have like maybe 2 or 3 recommendation. First is the policymaker have to assess and have to see the disaster not through the lens of national level, but also to see into the regional level. And you can see that the presence of government aid for infrastructure reconstruction is something that can help the reconstruction, help the economy to go back to the steady state faster. And the third is about the heterogeneity of the household. The lending policy after the disaster, you cannot make one policy for all household, but you need to make a special policy for the poor family, and also make a direct stimulus to the poor family. That's all that I can tell you this afternoon. Thank you.
Oke, kita applause untuk Mas Kamil ya. Thank you very much, Mas Kamil.